The moment my mother looked at me, eyes red and voice trembling, and said, "You're no mother to Caleb," my heart shattered into pieces I didn't know could break. I was in labor, fighting for my son, and they were demanding $60,000 from me. How could family turn into monsters overnight? If you're enjoying this, please subscribe and share. Your support keeps the stories coming. They said they'd done everything for me, sacrificed for my future. But what I saw was a cold transaction, a debt collector's mindset, not a mother's love. They weren't there for Caleb when he needed them most, leaving him in a silence heavier than any hospital room. Their rejection wasn't just cruel, it was a betrayal that echoed through every sleepless night I endured with him. The humiliation didn't stop at my doorstep. Messages flooded in, laced with venom, accusing me of selfishness, mental instability, even neglect. My own family turned their weapons of words against me, attacking the very core of who I was. I felt isolated, every insult like a fresh wound. But there was one light in the darkness: Evan's parents, George and Mary, stepping in with unwavering support. Their kindness reminded me that family isn't always blood, it's who stands beside you when the world turns away. At home, Caleb's laughter had faded into quiet anxiety. His little hands trembled as he clung to me, and I saw the reflection of my own pain mirrored in his eyes. The pediatric therapist confirmed what I feared: the trauma was real, deep-rooted in the very people who were supposed to protect him. It was time to fight back. Not just for me, but for my son's future. Recording that confrontation with my mother was the first act of reclaiming power. It was evidence, proof that their words weren't just harsh, they were weaponized to break us. And I knew, deep down, this was only the beginning. Then came the message that would change everything. My brother Justin, once silent, reached out. He was breaking free from their control, ready to stand with me. The family I'd thought I'd lost was beginning to reshape itself. And the battle for Caleb's safety was no longer mine alone. But as I prepared to take the next step, I realized, justice would come at a price. The courtroom wasn't just a place for law. It was a battlefield for the soul of my family, and just when I thought I was ready, a new threat emerged, one that could undo everything I'd fought for. The courtroom felt colder than any hospital room I'd been in. A place where my family's darkest secrets would be pulled into the harsh light. My parents sat across from me, their faces a mixture of anger and disbelief. To them, this was just another betrayal, another family fight turned public. But to me, this was survival. For Caleb. For all of us. I watched my lawyer, Jennifer, present the evidence, the recordings, the medical reports, the messages filled with hate and manipulation. Each word, each proof, was a brick in the wall I was building to protect my son. The judge's stern gaze shifted between my parents and me, measuring the weight of years of neglect and cruelty. Then came Justin's testimony. My brother, once silenced by their control, spoke with a quiet strength that surprised everyone. He admitted how deeply our parents' manipulations had affected him, how he'd once believed their twisted version of loyalty. But now, he was breaking free, choosing truth over tradition. That day, the court granted a restraining order against my parents. It wasn't just a legal victory. It was a lifeline, a chance to breathe without fear. Walking out of that building, I felt the weight on my shoulders ease just a little, but I knew this was far from the end. Back home, Evan wrapped his arms around me, steady and strong. Caleb's eyes, once shadowed with fear, slowly began to shine with hope. We started rebuilding, not just our lives, but the very meaning of family. Social media storms quieted as friends and strangers alike rallied behind us. Messages of support poured in, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Still, every step forward was tinged with the ache of what was lost, the family that could have been, the love that was denied. Months passed, and with them came healing. Justin became a constant presence, repaying debts and mending bridges. Evan's parents filled the gaps left by my own, showing Caleb what unconditional love looks like. Boundaries were drawn, not as walls, but as fences to protect our peace. And then, on a quiet afternoon, I stood in the backyard with Caleb, hanging wind chimes. Each delicate bell was a promise, a new beginning. A symbol that even after the fiercest storms, there is music in the air again. But just as I felt the first true breath of freedom, a message popped up on my phone, a reminder that the past sometimes refuses to stay buried. The message wasn't from my parents, it never was anymore. It was from a stranger, an anonymous account that had been lurking in the background since the court battle began. Threats veiled as warnings, whispers of exposing hidden truths, attempts to drag me back into the shadows I was fighting so hard to leave behind, but I refused to be afraid. I wasn't the scared young woman who had begged for help while in labor. I was Harper, the mother who fought for her son's right to be safe, the woman who rebuilt her life from betrayal and abandonment. Days turned into weeks, and the harassment grew more persistent. Yet with every message, my resolve only hardened. I leaned on Evan, Justin, and my lawyer, who prepared us for any fallout. My network of true family and friends stood like a fortress, shielding Caleb and me from the storm. At the same time, Caleb blossomed under the care of his therapist. his laughter returning like sunlight after a long winter. We planted a garden in the backyard, symbolizing growth, healing, and the future we would nurture together. One evening, as I tucked Caleb into bed, he whispered, "Mom, I'm not scared anymore. You're my hero." Tears blurred my vision as I kissed his forehead, feeling the full weight of those words. This journey was never about revenge, it was about reclaiming love and safety for my son. Months later, during a family gathering with Evan's parents and Justin, I felt the peace I had long sought. The toxic echoes of my past had been silenced, replaced by a new kind of family, one chosen, supportive, and real. And as I looked out over that backyard, wind chimes softly ringing in the evening breeze, I knew that I had transformed pain into power, rejection into resilience. My son's future was no longer defined by betrayal but by the unshakable strength of a mother who refused to give up. This was our new beginning. If you're inspired by this story of courage and healing, please subscribe and share. Your support helps voices like mine be heard.